Thank you for like doing this with us today as well. And I'll just introduce you. Like Shruti needs no introduction, but most of you here might know Shruti as an actor. But as I've gotten to know, she's actually like walked on a lot of different paths before coming to acting, and now she's trained as a mental health coach. So maybe let's start with that. Like, do you want to share a little bit about this journey that you have been on?
Um, well, which part of the journey? Before I became an actor, or how I became a mental well-being coach? Because they're two different journeys.
Yeah, so I think what we'd like to know is like it's this journey that you've been on in terms of the world that's changing. I think my question is coming from the perspective that in the rapidly changing world, navigating so many different all of these different ways in which you've sort of navigated your journey and coming till here. What has your experience been in dealing with different hurdles that came along the way, and how have you chosen these paths?
Okay, so I'm actually just going to trace back many, many years ago. There was a film that released called The Matrix. And for some reason, it just sort of struck a very deep chord with me. And the word, the term rather, free your mind, just stayed with me, and it has followed me ever since. Right through my acting career, the ups and downs, the fame, the money, the work, all of it. While I'm extremely grateful for it all, and I've had a wonderful time doing what I've been doing, and I hope to continue doing it for a very long time. Uh, I was always seeking something that seemed very elusive. We all think that when we have work and when we have money and when we have fame, we're going to be really happy. And I was, I'm not going to deny it. But there was a very strange quest in me, and I kept feeling that all these things are stuff that everybody does. It's the journey that everyone takes in their lives, in their careers, in their industries. But for me, I constantly kept feeling a tug saying that I want to break away from the things that supposedly guide us on these paths, which is, whether it's wanting to make enough money to get secure or have enough popularity and fame so that, people know about your achievements, or for that matter, just general comfort. And while again, please don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for all of it, and it all is very, very essential, because only when I think if everyone is sort of, well acquainted with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you have to first get settled with your basic needs till you can start finding your way to self-actualization. And that for me was being able to free my mind. Um, the reason I say this is because that particular question has been sort of, gnawing at me and tickling me all these years. And I kept saying, okay, I want to get deeper into my own human mind. I want to understand what are the impulses that drive me. Why do the things that are supposed to make me happy and content have a very short life? Why do I need it? It's like a dose that you need. You need to when you, especially when you speak of consumerism, which is largely the way people are sort of explained happiness. That if you buy this, you'll be happy, or if you get that, you'll be happy, or if you go there, you'll be happy. And while there is a moment of joy, it's not sort of long lasting, and it sort of fades away, and then you need to do something new to get that hit again. So I wanted to try and understand that. And during the pandemic, when we were at home, just before that, I'd had a really, really sort of low phase in my career. And I was very upset because I felt like, I wasn't getting the kind of work I wanted. I was transitioning in terms of my age group. And I kept feeling that this can't be the end of the road for me. I wasn't ready to just stop doing what I was doing. But I was deeply anxious and upset and stressed. And I remember my daughter seeing me at a very, very weak moment one evening. And I was crying. And she said, "Why do you always look so sad?" I said, because I'm not getting work. And she turned around and said something to me that, why don't you make your own work? And soon after that, I actually went back to a show. It was all good. And then, boom, 2020 happened and all of us were locked in. And to be honest, I think the world made it evidently clear that people from my industry were not required at that point. And we all just had to stay at home because the world needed more important people to be the frontliners. And at that point, again, I felt this thing that, I'm so dispensable. What am I going to do if the industry never opens up? And that's when I said, okay, I want to firstly find something that will quell my anxiety and at the same time give me better tools to maybe start working in a career that is pandemic proof. And that's how I started my journey down the road of getting qualified in various areas of mental well-being. So, sorry, I think I spoke a really, really long time, but that's been my journey up to this moment.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure it's not just me, like when you said that as well, like I'm sure a lot of us experience this when we are like preparing to walk on any path that like anything may come around the corner. And based on the journey that you've been on and as you've shared, like you've sort of been able to
Yes,
befriend whatever comes along the way and navigate that and find something new. So, would you like to share with us, like, how do I put it? Like things that you learned along the way as you've sort of, at to this point, things you've learned along the way that, you wish you knew before or wish somebody would have told you earlier.
that's such a lovely question. Yes, of course, and I have to say, I'm still learning. I'm still sort of figuring it out. It hasn't all come at me together, but yeah, there have been slight, tiny epiphanies that have sort of happened along the way. I think number one, the one thing that I learned is our ego. Our ego tells us so many lies, and it wants us to believe so many things that protect us from the truth because the truth is very hard to sit with and to confront. But if you find a way to sort of just start seeing things as they are, as opposed to how you are viewing them, to sort of deal with the fact that everything isn't about you, and everyone is not looking at attacking you. Everyone is not looking, may not necessarily be the truth, they may not be accurate, and we tend to sort of color certain situations the way we see them, and they may not necessarily be that. And that leads to a lot of misunderstanding, it leads to a lot of confusion, it leads to a lot of conflict, it leads to a lot of suffering. So I think when you start taking a pause and asking yourself very honestly that, is this exactly how it is, or is this how I'm choosing to see it? That tends to give sort of, it sort of takes off the film from in front of you and makes things a little more clearer. And it helps you because you don't end up constantly feeling that um, everyone in the world, you are not the center of the universe. You are not the center of the universe. And uh, I wish I had learned that earlier on in my life because I lost a lot of relationships along the way because my perspective was my perspective and I did not want to see it from anybody's point of view. And I always pretended or believed that I'm so nice and I'm so amazing and just people misunderstand me. And, you know, I feel I wasn't brave enough to see things the way they were. I wasn't brave enough to accept that in any dynamic of two people, both have a part to play. And in every dynamic that I had, I played a part in it as well. And I wasn't always the right person. So I feel I wish this is something I had known sooner. Uh, Another thing that I've learned from another course that I did, which was from my emotional intelligence coach, course, was that again we tend to we're very quick to jump to conclusions. We're very reactive, and that does have a lot to do with the way the brain is constructed and the way the brain is designed. If there are people who are from the psychology background, will understand, the primitive brain, the reptilian brain, the amygdala, all of that, that it all is designed to again put you in fight or flight. And to be able to actually think rationally as a human being, you have to learn how to hit pause and learn how to be responsive and not reactive. So now, and again, it all stems from the ego, because the moment someone says something that is contrary to your belief, your natural reaction is that the ego has got pricked, your brain has gone into fight or flight, and your first thing is to react. And that causes a lot of confusion and suffering in your life as well. So to be able to listen without constantly feeling attacked or being offended is a huge life skill, which I think a lot of us have lost in the last maybe 10 odd years. Conversations have become so polarizing. It's either me or them. There is no ability to sit in a difficult conversation and actually getting educated. And that I think great. To be able to sit in a conversation where there will be contrary points of view, and instead of taking offense, we need to learn how to say, okay, why is this person seeing it like this? And why am I seeing it differently? And that gives you so much insight into the human condition. And I think that is something that is extremely necessary. And I wish that we would sort of reintegrate that into our systems now, especially with younger kids, so that they learn how to sit in conversations where they may have to say, okay, I'm wrong. And I'm glad that I heard this out. Now I feel like I have been educated by somebody else, and not take it on the ego. So uh, these have been my lessons through my courses, and I think through life, um, I would say that a big thing that has worked in my favor has been gratitude. I have always sought that out, no matter how low. I have always tried to look for things to be grateful for, because I can guarantee that there is always something to be grateful for. We just have to be able to find it. But we get so lost in looking for things that make us sad, that to look for the things that are also bringing joy into our lives. And both things, if we understand impermanence, it'll really save you a lot of heartache. Good times don't last, so please enjoy them the most when they're there. And bad times don't last as well, so don't let them bring you down more than they should. And I think as human beings, it is imperative to feel everything. Like all our emotions have a purpose, and to be able to sit with all of them is really what life is about for human beings, especially. Again, I think I'm just talking a lot. I'm so sorry. Please feel happy to interject at any point and say you got your answer.
Okay, I mean, this is a conversation that can keep on going. But like, let's say, like, I would like to, I think, pick on the thing you talked about, like about truth, the impermanence of it, and how things keep
Yes,
changing, but how it's important to be able to mold yourself
yes.
with it and sort of go along with it, see things as they are. So my question, I think, would be, this is something that I'm sure when you say it, we understand, but on an intellectual level. So the question then is, like, what are some of the practices that we can use? Because during that moment itself, to be with it might be quite difficult. So one thing you have mentioned, I've picked on, is gratitude, being grateful. But do you want to share with us a few tools that we can have to sort of navigate these difficult times, particularly because happiness can be, we can be like, yeah. What about
So
the
I
difficult
think
times?
uh, one of the primary things to do, and I'm saying practices. I think every morning when you open your eyes, that is the first time you should say thank you that you woke up, because you don't know which night you'll sleep, and then you may not end up waking up. So, to understand the most important thing, number one, is the gift of life. I think that is something we tend to forget about. There was a very interesting sort of experiment that was done with a couple of people by someone, and I ended up seeing it on one of the WhatsApp forwards that my mother sends me, which are very annoying at times. They're really important because there are some very interesting, deep insights about life. And it went that uh, you will be given, maybe 100 crores, 100 crores. Okay, but in return for that, you won't be able to wake up the next morning. Would you take the 100 crores? And everybody, the moment they heard 100 crores, was obviously very happy and they were like, yeah, this will be the best thing. But then the moment they realized that what they had to trade for it was being alive, uh, the gentleman said, well, there's your answer. That's what you really want. You may think you want money, you may think you may want fame. What you forget is that the first thing to be grateful for is being alive. Just to wake up in the morning and saying a thank you that I had a good night's sleep. The number of people that struggle with sleep, we don't even realize it till things start taking a downward turn in our lives. We don't realize all the things we take for granted. So when you start saying thank you for the tiniest thing, and I know it sounds, like a self-help book, but it really, the reason why it's there is because it is effective. When you start saying thank you for the tiniest little things, you realize that your life is so abundant, really. But the brain is designed to constantly look for threats. It's constantly looking for fear because its job is to protect us, right? That's the primal brain, that its job is to constantly keep you on alert, saying, oh my God, I don't have enough money. Oh my God, I'm not as famous. Oh my God, I don't have enough work. That's the nature of the brain. But to train, and that happens almost involuntarily. But what needs to be cultivated is to say, to actually sit down and say, do I have all the things I really, really need? And I think for me, almost 99% the answer is yes. Do I have all the things I want? Almost, I would say 90% yes. Do I have all the things I desire? Perhaps not. But desire is something that is, it's all pervasive, it kind of pervasive, it just goes into everything. And then all the things that you need and all the things that you want become immaterial because, my God, desire. So to question desire, why do I want the things I want? And I think it all starts from the fact that if you start looking, do you have the basic things that they say? You have a roof over your head. You have your parents alive and healthy. You have a family that loves you. You have friends that care for you. You have a job that gives you a steady income, or you have a creative job that gives you immense fulfillment. And maybe, I've been a freelancer for 23 years of my life. I don't know if I'll have work tomorrow. Now, either I can sit on that and dwell on it and feel miserable, or I can say that 23 years I've been doing the same thing and something somewhere is working in my favor. I want to be grateful for that thing. I don't want to question it. I don't want to find out what it is. I just want to take the leap and totally trust the process that if it's brought me here, it'll take me further. So these are thought process that have to be cultivated. You have to tell yourself every single day on purpose that I am grateful I'm walking, I'm grateful my limbs are working, I'm grateful that I'm being able to enjoy and digest my food. I'm grateful that I'm getting the nutrition that I need from my food. I'm grateful that I can exercise. These are little, little, little things. I've had a tennis elbow now for 3 months, and I've been a very, very physically active person. So, a lot of my self worth is attached to how I feel physically. And when I say physically, I mean strength, flexibility, movement wise. Has made me even more cognizant of being grateful for the tiniest thing that my body does for me. So that's how you move ahead. If you have a problem with actually checking in and being grateful, keep a gratitude diary. There's so many that are available which have the prompts that you need. As you start writing it down, you'll automatically feel a sense of joy because there is so many things to be grateful for. You have to be grateful that there's clean air, which right now in Delhi and Bombay we know is so debilitating with the pollution levels, that clean air is something to be grateful for. So it really is the tiniest things. If you develop the habit to sort of recognize them, to be grateful for them, you will see your life change. You will see yourself change for the better. So these are the tools I use, and I hope that if anybody who's seeking can use them, and I can promise you'll see a shift in your life.
Thank you for sharing that. Manab, the things that you've been sharing are things that maybe we can use. But I was also thinking in terms of the larger structures and the changes that come, right? In terms of how the world has been changing rapidly, a lot. And I feel like
Yes.
it's gonna keep on happening. And I was wondering particularly about, because you've talked about the transience of happiness and the relationship with it. Would you like to talk a little bit more about it, and how do you think will these concepts, in your opinion, based on the things you've seen and observed, how will they change? How do they change the idea of happiness and success over time?
So I think the most important thing is, self inquiry. I think a lot of us tend to lack the skill on how to become more self aware. I did a lot of stuff in my life because I heard in my family circles that one must study, one must get an education, one must get a job, one must make money, one must get married, one must have a child, because these are the things that you're supposed to do, right? And a lot of us are influenced by our environment, by our social circle, by our upbringing. But very rarely do we actually check in and say, okay, my parents want me to study engineering, or my parents want me to be a doctor. What do I want to do? What are my interests? Uh, do I really want, what do I want from my life? What are the things that bring me joy? And again, I feel that if you look, it is a job of capitalism and consumerism to keep you chasing happiness because it makes a lot of people rich, to keep you insecure. And while things are great and experiences are great, and I'm all for them. I won't say that I've become an ascetic hermit, that I stay at home and I don't consume. Of course I do. But I've understood my relationship with consumerism. That I have figured out that at the end of the day, of course, I would like a holiday, but is my life's entire purpose tied to that holiday? Or is it something that I want to do as a break from what I'm doing? To be able to seek happiness in everyday things. And like I said, the moment you start seeking gratitude, you start realizing there is so many little things that don't cost anything that actually bring happiness. Um, as you, for me, very honestly, a good workout, 7 hours of sleep, just the ability to sit and pet my dog, or hug my daughter, or watch a really satisfying film, or listen to some beautiful pieces of music. These are things that actually feed my soul. But I have sat and I have done a fair amount of self inquiry to understand that, and now I am making sure that I bring more of that into my life, as opposed to a constant prompt to say shop now, shop now, shop now, go here, this holiday, that holiday, be on Instagram, see who's doing what. Oh no, my life sucks. Everybody life sucks. Trust me. And Instagram is all about curation. I will only show you the best parts because it's a pinboard of my life saying, oh wow, these are the best parts of my life. I like looking at it. I feel happy. But if I actually sit down with myself and I ask myself questions every day, and you start getting clarity about what drives you, you will start seeing and working towards the things that make you happy. And you start to define what success means to you as opposed to what success is sold to you as a concept. Because someone will tell you only when you can drive a luxury Mercedes Benz are you successful. Is it really? I don't know. Critical thinking. Keep asking yourself questions. I do I feel happier when I'm sitting in a car alone, Or am I happier in a bus with my entire family? Those things will start giving you a lot of answers. Again, comfort and happiness are two different things. Do you want to be comfortable or do you want to be happy? At some point, they overlap, but many a times they're mutually exclusive. So all these things can only happen if you have the ability to sit by yourself and ask yourself questions. Why do I do what I'm doing? Why am I studying this? Why do I want to go for that party? Why do I want that holiday? Ask yourself that question and then keep breaking it down till you get the right answer. Whatever the answer may be, at least find out. Don't walk through your life on autopilot or like a pre-programmed zombie who's been told now you must earn 20 lakhs. Why do I want to earn 20 lakhs? What am I giving up to get that 20 lakhs? Does it really matter? Do I want to have no sleep? Do I want to have no family life? Do I not want to have any breaks because I'm chasing 20 lakhs? Or can I do with 5 lakhs things that actually give me joy and happiness? So, critical thinking for me is one of the key elements that help you arrive at your definition of happiness and of well being and success.
That is quite a lot of food for thought. And I did want to see if we have time for a question or something, but I think we are at the end of time. So we'll wrap up. Yeah. 2 minutes. Can we take, Shruti, do you want to take one question before we wrap up? Yeah?
Sure, sure.
Anybody?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
Yeah, one question. Could you tell me?
I wanted to ask you, there are people who come with a very negative perspective and lens, looking at world from a very, dark space because of situations and experiences that they have had. So how do we instill a sense of gratitude, or how do we show them that happiness is something that you have to, you know?
So, I come across a lot of people like that, to be honest. And there are many of us like that, and especially cognizance of the stuff that's going around us. Yes, there is a reason for us to feel that kind of sadness and despair, and the pointlessness of it all. That how does it really matter? Look at what's happening to the world. Look at the political scenarios. Look at what's happening to, there are wars happening, and there's enough reason for all of us to just say all of this is pointless. But I think if you have a person that you deeply care about, who you feel is stuck in a bit of a negative loop, I think the point is to constantly question them, saying, okay, so try and tell me something that is keeping you here. What has brought you to this point? Do you have a family? Do you love them? Do you care for them? Do they care for you? Their cycle of unhappiness. So it was really interesting, the whole idea behind confirmation bias, right? If you seek out negative things, your brain feels compelled to find you enough evidence to confirm your bias. If I say my life sucks, my brain will start tuning into things that are sucky. And then I'll be like, see, I'm right. So the brain is just following your orders. If the same way you say, oh, my life is working wonders for me, and I'm glad that I have this, or I'm happy that I have that, the brain will then start seeking out evidence for you to be proved that your life is not sucky and it's not as bad as you would like it to be, or you think it is. And I think to ask people that you make a choice every day. You can the same situation can be seen whether you want to see it from a happy lens or you want to see it from a sad lens. So are really things happy or unhappy, or is it you? And if it is you, why is it so? And again, I feel that gratitude journals really, really help a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people pull themselves out of very dark places, a lot of negative, thought processes by deliberately journaling. And I think that is something, if you can cultivate, for yourself or for the person around you that you think has gotten stuck in a bit of a loop, I really feel that that shows excellent results. So to constantly question people that really, is it that bad or is it how you are seeing it? Or are you imagining that it can, because I can sit here and ruminate my whole life away. I'm going to die eventually. That's enough for me to ruminate. Say, eventually I'm going to die. What is the point of doing all of this? Why am I earning money? Why am I going to work? I'm going to die eventually. All of us are going to die, but it's about here and now. And I think another thing that I would like to point out, I've just done a course in mindfulness meditation, and I don't think anything has benefited my life better than becoming mindful, to be present here and now. We live so much in the past, and we're constantly living in the future that none of us are actually living in the present. So start living here and now. For me, the ability to sit here in front of my and talk to all of you is a thing of joy. It's a privilege. It's an honor, and I'm richer for it. So for me, I will walk away right now feeling like I had an amazing opportunity. I don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes later, but I seized the moment here and now. And I think that goes a very long way in developing a more positive and a happier outlook towards life.
Thank you, Shruti. I think we are at the end of the conversation, and thank you for sharing a piece of you with us today. I mean, the tools that you've shared are definitely something that we can use, but it's also so encouraging to hear your story and the way you have used them along the way. So, thank you so much for being here with us. Shruti Seth, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a wonderful festival. And I really hope next year I can be there amongst all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
what you guys do.